Hello, my name is Lena and I'm the fashion fortune teller. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and also welcome to my very first YouTube video. The fashion fortune teller, well, she's been around for a while, 1985 to be exact. But before she was the fashion fortune teller, she went by her German alias called Fräulein Eggers. She lived in Berlin and worked in the fashion industry and was your typical Berliner it girl. And that went on for several years, and now she is relocated to the Pacific Standard Time Zone, currently in Kelowna, BC, and there will also be new locations coming soon, like the famous Los Angeles. The biggest wish of the fashion fortune teller is to bring you the hottest, newest, coolest, hippest, most beautiful trends. But we don't even need to talk about trends so much, because we can fashion forecast, and that's what I'm incredibly gifted at, is fashion forecasting. And there is a wide range of skills that the fashion fortune teller, who also acts as an agency, is gifted at. So everything from creative direction to marketing, social media, modeling, those types of things within the fashion industry. Of course, topics like sustainability and current issues are incredibly important. The fashion fortune teller is also a multi-dimensional priestess of the white rose and healer, but for that she has another alias that is named the red priestess. So sometimes those two like to collaborate, as mainly the fashion fortune teller is fashion and the red priestess is mainly healing, multi-dimensional healing. Of course, there are multiple crossovers and collaborations that take place quite a lot. However, the fashion fortune teller's main responsibility in general, so she's part of the LENAHCLEE Divine Design Science House, so she's really the face of the LENAHCLEE Divine Design Science House. She's responsible for communicating, for doing the marketing, for the social media, for connecting with others. And a big part of what the fashion fortune teller does is she's executing market research. So she sometimes has different ways of executing this research. And of course, there's been a lot of shifts in society, and of course, new money systems coming in, and additionally, there's a big topic which is very important to her, and it's about wealth redistribution, because it's been so long that the wealth has been in the hands of people who have not made the best use of it. And through research through a lot of women that the fashion fortune teller has worked with, both via the red priestess and the fashion fortune teller, the findings continue to show poverty within the female gender. Unfortunately, this is something that has been showing again and again, and it's hurtful. A lot of women, even women who are business owners, are having trouble keeping food on the table. So these are things that we need to remember. And the fashion fortune teller also really much likes to support local businesses and local food and new generations. It's difficult because we live in a society where there's been a lot of corporate structures, and there can be a lot of benefits to these, but unfortunately there has been quite a lot of corruption. And as we know, there has been a lot of corruption within the fashion business. We can start about sweatshop topics. We can talk about how much people have gotten paid. We can go into deep research and you will hear stories from almost and a lot of fashion brands to what exactly we have experienced working in the fashion industry. And it's no different working as a multidimensional healer and the things that take place there. And to which extent, namely, I do continue to talk about women. I don't mean to say that this hasn't happened to men and that there's no poverty in other colors and things like that. I simply am sharing my experiences, what I've researched and what I continue to see. That that women, and I mean basically the fashion industry as we know it today has been built on the backs of women and children a lot, right? So when we go into countries like, I don't want to name any countries now because I think there's so much research to be done still and things are shifting so much, and to put names and blame on certain countries might be not necessary at this point due to the fact that things can be changing. But we do know that outsourcing in third world countries has been one of the factors that has contributed to building a very, very lucrative global business in the fashion industry, namely over the last 2-3 decades. When we talk about fast fashion, right? When these massive retailers coming into the marketplace, such as H&M, Mango, Zara, and you will see a lot of the top executives of these companies. I think Zara was the richest. He was actually the richest man in the world. And we don't know everything that he's done right or wrong, but we know for a fact that there is a skewed sense of what fashion costs. The cost of fashion is a lot more than we know. I'm also doing a lot of research on vintage, and as you know, the Fashion Fortune Teller has vintage clothing for sale, and even that we do need to work on making sure that we don't let the value of old clothes decrease too much, because this is a going trend, right? So sometimes what will happen is something won't be new anymore, and then the value just drops down. But if we're using the right quality fabrics and pieces and things, fashion pieces should be made to last. In the past, a lot of items were made, before we got into fast fashion, you wouldn't produce a whole bunch of stuff and then have it ready to go, right? You would go to a tailor and have items specially made for you, and in the past you'd have a wardrobe of 5 to 7 key pieces, and that would be basically what you would wear. And now things have changed so much, and I know I did a lot of research as the fashion fortune teller for one of the other brands that's under the LENAHCLEE Divine Design Science House, so Lena, and she's eyewear. So essentially part of what was done was that she was checking to see if people would like to pre-order a very exclusive diamond ice collection. Most of what happened is, even if they had seen the sketches and such, people did want to see the finished product. So They cared more about being able to see what the finished product looked like, right? Because, for example, there's a lot of research being done of, okay, how much will be produced, and one of the goals is zero waste. So we can't be making products that are going to be tossed away. So there's a lot of research that's going into rebuilding the fashion world. So LENAHCLEE Divine Design Science House will be shifting things a lot in how they're done. And so a big part of that is massive research part, which is what the fashion fortune teller is responsible for. But what was found is they wouldn't, it was just, no, we need to see it first and then we might get some. And it's like, okay, well, the way that we see it is that we don't want to have a whole bunch of products that won't be worn. So we're not going to produce a whole bunch of things. Of course, you can make prototypes and test them out and see how they work and then really continue. But the whole thing really shouldn't be so complicated. I think in the fashion world as well, we've lost a lot of people wanting to experiment and have experiences and have something else. I can even say there's a big obsession with saying, oh, I only like this kind of thing and that only looks good on me. And well, actually, if you know how to style yourself well, and if anybody knows the fashion fortune teller from any of her outfits, you will see that I can make almost anything look pretty great and pretty fun, and it's about how you put together, but you do need to make sure that things fit properly. That's a number one, and that's a given, 100%. Yes, so that's the first video on YouTube with Fashion Fortune Teller. Of course, I've been talking about the Fashion Fortune Teller show, but anytime you see me live, that is the Fashion Fortune Teller show. But I do want to point out that there will be some interviews taking place in the future. So you're welcome to email thefashionfortuneteller@gmail.com if you feel like you would like to be a candidate to be interviewed in the future. The topics we are going to be discussing is love, spirituality, science, fashion, current topics, innovation topics, business topics, any topics that are relevant in today's world are very important because these also get expressed in fashion. So that's one of the beautiful things about fashion. It's not only just what you're wearing or this being a very public thing, but it's about expressing. And with fashion, you always have opportunities to show things, and even political topics or difficult topics can be expressed in a much more easy way in fashion. So this is also part of the fashion fortune teller's job to make sure that we're getting information about a lot of topics, and also to really bring some depth into the fashion industry. I think there's a really quite a lot of it, but just to get really clear on the deep expression and what more is being expressed. So the fashion fortune teller is also a very spiritual fashion project, and that's not really a word to be taken lightly because it's a word that we're always all talking about, but we're all spirits. We are spiritual beings. So it's almost impossible not to be spiritual because we are all innately very spiritual just per nature. But that's enough for now. XOXO. Love the fashion fortune teller. Thank you so much.